You know, Islamic asset management is slow to take off. But recently we saw one of the largest banks in Southeast Asia, CIMB, has now fully launched their product range of Islamic mutual funds in Luxembourg.
Hey John, thank you for joining Dukascopy TV today. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here, Jack.
So let's jump straight in. We've heard of some new innovative structures in the Islamic finance system, especially in Europe. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, Jack, and I think it's going to be an interesting story as it evolves. Everybody knows about the financial problems of the government of Italy. And it also reaches down to the regions of Italy. They borrowed too much money in the Eurobond market. And the European Union and the World Bank, IMF, have pretty much prohibited Italy from increasing its debt. Debt to GDP is already something over 120%, and they want it to go down to 60, 70, 80%. So how do you do that? Well, one is you can't issue any more debt. What you have outstanding, you have to retire. Yet Italy, like every country in the world, needs financing. They need it now. And we have been approached by the second largest law firm in Italy, NCTM, in Milano and Rome, and helping advise them on some structures that would be compatible to Islamic finance. Very interestingly, the government of Italy, while it's considering right now changing tax laws to allow it to issue sukuk, which are Islamic bonds, in the interim, they're creating what's similar to a REIT, real estate investment trust. And this is going to be an Italian REIT, if you will, full of government real estate, government-owned real estate, which is buildings and airports and other kind of facilities, where they will sell the real estate to the REIT and they'll lease the properties back. And the owners of the REIT units, the investors who buy these units of the Italian government REIT, will take the yield on the real estate. And of course, that yield will be very closely tied to the yield of the Italian government. So by doing this, they can cash out on a lot of real estate, reduce their government debt, and yet still have operating properties used by the government on a sale-leaseback. And so very, very innovative. We think that there could be enormous demand for this kind of instrument.
So moving on from that, what are some of the newest developments in Islamic asset management?
You know, Islamic asset management is slow to take off. But recently we saw one of the largest banks in Southeast Asia, CIMB, has now fully launched their product range of Islamic mutual funds in Luxembourg. An investment company in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, called Sedco Capital, has just finished and launched its full Islamic product range in Luxembourg. So what we're seeing now is, you know, if you have a Muslim client, you're managing money for a Muslim here in Switzerland, and trust me, there's a lot, at least a couple $100 billion of Muslim-owned assets are here under management. And if your client says, gee, Francois, or gee, Wolfgang, I want you to manage my money, but according to my spiritual faith, please follow Sharia when you make investments. Well, without the availability of product in places like Luxembourg or Dublin, you can't do that. And so now that we see more and more product providers using Luxembourg and Dublin as a platform for launching Islamic mutual funds, you know, like equity mutual funds, sukuk mutual funds, cash mutual funds, other types of mutual funds, we see finally the door opening toward proper asset management, but with respect of Sharia. It's now very, very, very possible.
So moving over to the US, we've seen the election, the inauguration, and now coming up to a month of Donald Trump. What does a Trump administration do for Islamic asset management?
We all watch Donald and his antics out of the White House. Certainly the most current news about the Muslim ban being reviewed at a federal court in San Francisco as we speak, and the president will probably lose that. I think the values of the United States in terms of preserving the openness of the society, the openness of the country will be maintained, and Donald Trump will lose on his effort to ban Muslims from entering the United States. But it does create sort of an anti-Muslim hysteria in the United States, and you have to think about that. The United States, believe it or not, has perhaps the largest economy in the world for Islamic finance. The number one country in the world for Islamic home mortgages is America. The number one country for Islamic venture capital is America. And it's not by accident, because the United States Internal Revenue Service, they changed American tax code 30 years ago to accommodate Islamic finance. So despite this wave of anti-Muslim hysteria that we see starting with the administration in the United States, Mr. Trump's new presidency, I think Islamic finance has grown a lot already in America and is poised to grow even more.
John, thank you very much. An
It's a
absolute
pleasure.
pleasure.
Thank you, Jack.
And thank you for watching. And if you like this video and would like to see more, be sure to stay with us here at Dukascopy TV.